Dungy. More at CoachDungy.com. That's CoachDungy.com.
It's a bully, but we aren't afraid of a fight. It's elusive, but our focus never fades. It's deadly, but we were born to defeat cancer. You may not have heard of us, but our work has helped millions impacted by cancer. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We are leaders in advancing breakthroughs in immunotherapy, genomics, and personalized medicine. This research saves lives. After 65 years of fighting blood cancers, we've arrived at a game-changing belief. The cures for cancer are in our blood. The drugs and treatments we've developed for blood cancers have helped people affected by many different types of cancers. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Beating cancer is in our blood. Learn more at LLS.org.
Are you a veteran who served offshore of the Republic of Vietnam between 1962 and 1975? Blue Water Navy veterans and their family members may now qualify for compensation and survivor benefits for health conditions linked to herbicide exposure such as Agent Orange. To learn more, call 1-800-749-8387 or go to va.gov and search Blue Water Navy. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
GSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, Paula FC, ESPN Northwest Florida. Welcome to the house. It's time for the Afternoon Underdogs.
It's happening. Wow. It's on right now.
Opinionated and unfiltered. The hot takes, the rants, and the sports talk you crave.
Give it to me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. It's 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Mariana, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We're also streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. We also have the app, so in your Google Play Store or your Apple App Store, just type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and you can take us with you everywhere you go. Again, this is the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and James Fife with us on the ones and the twos. Hopefully everyone out there had a good weekend as we get ramped up for Mother's Day. I've been hearing Mother's Day commercials like on TV and the radio for like 3 weeks now, and I'm just wondering when Father's Day comes around, I feel like they just played the
you'll get it for 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's like day of, like, hey, don't forget to go get a tire, some socks for your pops, man. But no, we all appreciate our mothers. We wouldn't be here without them. So just make sure that you got your moms in mind for this Sunday, which is Mother's Day. Lots of stuff to talk about. A wild weekend in sports. Of course, we're in the middle of the second rounds here in the NBA and NHL playoffs. Baseball is in its second month of the season. Atlanta Braves are playing some great baseball. The Pirates right now on a 7-game losing streak, and they still hold the top spot in the NL Central. So a lot of good things happening in the world of baseball. A lot of great things happening locally here with baseball and softball. We will dive in to all of the participants later on today at 5:40. We'll be getting ready for those games this week. Also tonight at 6 p.m. until 7:30 at Chapman Park, they're going to be having a meeting there for the future of Chapman Park. A lot of people here growing up played baseball, Little League, right over there, R.L. Turner. So if you would like any say-so on what's going to be happening or just be in the know of what's happening with Chapman Park, get on over there. The meeting is from 6 until 7:30 at Chapman Park, which is right there, Lisenby and Lisenby just shy of 390.
Yeah.
So you cross 23rd and Lisenby, and right up there on your right is going to be Chapman Park, man. And if you care about what's happening with our youth baseball leagues, or not just the leagues, but the locations, then go to that meeting tonight. We also had the Kentucky Derby. We've got Nikola Jokic, giving it to some NBA owners. We'll talk about that. But I wanted to start with Jim Irsay. He's the Colts owner. And apparently in 2022, that's last season, the Commanders, I don't know who exactly, but reached out to Andrew Luck, just trying to find out if he had any interest in playing. And, last year, I would say around this time, or maybe closer to the start of the regular season for 2022, there was a very in-depth article on ESPN Plus, I believe it was. If it wasn't ESPN Plus, it was The Athletic, but detailing the whole situation, behind the scenes kind of stuff of the injuries that Luck suffered and his path back, and why he's never gonna play football again. And he retired. How old was he when he retired? I believe 29 years old. 29. And so what's that? How long has that been? I mean, Colts fans are still feeling the effects from that, and hopefully, or I don't want to say hopefully for Colts fans, Anthony Richardson can be that difference maker and not be the Band-Aid that has continuously been put on and pulled off at that quarterback position by the Indianapolis Colts. But he came out and warned teams, Jim Irsay did, the owner, to not have any contact with Andrew Luck. And to me, this isn't breaking news or anything. It's just kind of odd that he has to come out and say this when if Andrew Luck were to come back anyways, regardless of who he wanted to, he's under contract with the Colts for 3 years if he were to return, and the likelihood of him returning is negative 100%.
Yeah, I don't.
Or 100% that he's not.
Yeah, I don't see any way he comes back. He was pretty sure of himself. It definitely was a measured decision. You don't get the impression this was anything he did on the spur of the moment or anything like that. So no, what it does remind people though is that your rights are still owned if you retire. So, and that prevents guys from saying they retire, and then coming back a day later, unretiring, and they're an unrestricted free agent. They
Barry
would game
Sanders,
the system.
Megatron.
I mean, they would game the system, completely. So yeah, but it does remind people of that, and that, my guess is it was probably just an innocent conversation. Hey, are you still sure that you want to stay retired kind of thing? But because you're representing another organization and this is a contracted player, there's issues there, and it's what it is. I mean, the funny thing about it, you were talking about, the Colts situation, that what was so rough about that deal was they made a very bold move, and I thought one of the best moves I've seen a front office make in going on and getting rid of Peyton Manning while he still had years left in him. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was the right move. I thought they maximized the ability to get something, out there while Manning was, still viable. But Luck is our guy going forward. We're not going to have him sit here, toil, and just stagnate on the bench. We're going to go with him. Thought it was a great move, a bold move that a lot of GMs wouldn't make. And so by doing that, they were all bought in, and Luck comes out. He's playing well. He's taking them to an AFC championship game, and I think they were all kind of bought in on, here's where we're going, and we just got to put pieces around him, and then boom, he's gone. I think it caught the franchise completely off guard, and they've really struggled since then to find their bearings.
Yeah, I mean, they did know that he was going to be retiring before we all knew. It was supposed to be kept a secret, and then it got leaked. It wasn't even supposed to happen when it did happen. But could you imagine, though, would have Andrew Luck's career lasted longer had they did the opposite of what you said and kept on, held on to Peyton Manning for 1 year, like a Patrick Mahomes type situation? But when you have the talent, to your point, when you have the talent that Andrew Luck possessed, why even wait why give him the time to culminate under someone else?
Maybe, but then again, if he doesn't start his career till he's older and tries to play a little longer, is he more susceptible to worse injuries? I don't know. I mean, he always struck me as a guy who had a pretty good idea in mind of what he wanted to do, and he wanted to do other things outside of football when it was over. He didn't strike me as a guy who, even when he was young, he didn't strike me as a guy who would do a Tom Brady and couldn't walk away.
Yeah.
He struck me as a guy who was going to play his years and get out. And so I don't know. I mean, yeah, he probably would have been a little older because he hadn't played as many years, but I doubt he would have played any more years. If anything, he might have played less.
Or if their offensive line was better, he's not getting beat and battered as much. I mean, there's that, because that was the overwhelming factor, was the injuries. Yeah,
but it's the NFL.
Yeah,
I'm not sure 100%. Even if he had the best offensive line in the game, if the situation wouldn't have been the same. Obviously, it's going to be dialed up a little bit because you are taking a few more hits. But, I mean, look, you're taking hits from those guys after 30, does 35 really make a difference? I mean, I don't know. I think this one was destined to happen. I think I was a little surprised it did when it did. I thought it was maybe 2 years early, but hey, it was what he wanted to do, and good for him.
Caveman Rick riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. He's on our cast with us each and every Friday. Caveman Rick, go ahead, brother.
Yo, I just had a little insight on what you guys were talking about on the Peyton Manning injury. Unfortunately, I had the same injury, not same injury, but the same surgery for spinal stenosis. I believe his was one vertebrae higher. Mine affected my vertebrae 5, 6, 7. I think his was 4, 5, 6. But anyways, and it affected my right arm, and I still have issues where I have some numbness and tingling, or loss of sensation, or try to grab like a doorknob and it kind of slips through my fingers, not to mention weakness. So I think, the Colts did the right thing letting him go. I think this got absolutely lucky by falling in the right situation going to Denver where he was able to win again. But if I was the Colts, I would have done the same thing, knowing my experiences from going through the same surgery. I know a lot of people were wondering, what the hell's taking him so long to get back on the field after the surgery. But like I said, being that I've been through it, I know exactly what it's like. And, good for the Colts for making the correct decision. Feel bad for Andrew Luck, but at the same time, too, hey, at least he got to leave on his own terms, in his own, volition, his own decision. So good for him, too. But I just wanted to throw that out there, guys.
Hey, Caveman, this is James. So with your problems, I have the same problem. And right now, my right hand, it's my thumb, index, middle finger will just vibrate and go numb. You can hold something and it just drops. Where did you have it in the fingers as well, or? Yeah.
Actually, if you're having some similar stuff, you should probably go get looked at. How it started with me was in my right hand. It was in my pinky finger, actually. I just felt like maybe I had tweaked it or over stretched something. Just felt kind of off for a couple weeks, and then that progressed actually into my ring finger just above it. And then I was getting a little worried, so I had a doctor's appointment with my endocrinologist in a few weeks. So I decided, hey, I'll just wait till I see him and then mention something to him. Well, by the time I saw him a couple weeks later, the bottom half of my hand was feeling kind of tingly. He set me up with a neurologist friend here in town, and I went and saw him, and almost immediately they knew there was something going on and had me getting more testing done, to the point where, like I said, eventually I went up to UAB, and I had 2 discs removed and, had them fused together, and I have a titanium plate with 6 screws in my neck now.
Yeah, and look, I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I've had issues, James, like yours, thumb and index finger. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say that's tied to C6, but obviously...
Well, it can be anywhere. See, what it was,
right.
With me, the discs were deformed that go the cavity that your spinal cord goes through.
Okay.
And so the best thing I could say is, it looked like the shape of an amoeba. It was this really odd shape, that gap that was there, and that was putting pressure on parts of my spinal cord, and that's what was causing the loss of sensation. And had I not gotten looked at and gotten the correction done, ultimately by now I could be paralyzed from the neck down.
Wow.
Because it would have continued to deformed to the point where eventually, according to my surgeon, it would have cut off, the spinal cord completely where, like I said, I would have been paralyzed.
Wow.
I am glad that worked out for you.
Like I said, thank you. Yeah, I mean, no joke. I mean, when you're talking about something like that happening, I thought I might have had MS or something to begin with, something like Dave's friend Terry can probably talk about, where all of a sudden, one day you're fine and then you start having issues. And, thankfully it was something I was able to have corrective surgery for.
Wow, that is, and I've heard you talk about the surgery before, but I don't even know if off the air we've ever gotten into that deep of detail with it, man.
Well, we haven't. That's probably why you didn't know. So that's why I thought since it was kind of pertaining to the topic, I'd, call and just shed a little light because I do have experience in it. Usually helps to have somebody that's in the know that's been there before, right?
Absolutely, man. Hey, Caveman Rick, bro, see you Friday, bro.
Yes, sir, man. All right, have a good show, guys. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you so much for the call. And he brings up another point, or at least one of the takeaways I had from that conversation is, yes, the Colts did, and you said that from the jump, the Colts did right by Peyton Manning and did right by their own franchise there, and they did right by Peyton Manning by getting him to the Denver Broncos because does his career end with a Super Bowl if he doesn't go to Denver with that vaunted defense? But, man, if it's affecting your hand, like James said, like can't even hold on to things, and the things that James is used to holding on to in the sports world is hockey sticks, which is a little bit easier to grip here. I'm assuming this a little bit easier to grip than what a football would be when you're trying to sling that thing, man. That's a troublesome situation there.
And it's not to the same degree, but I think the reason I thought it was such a bold move, I mean, it makes perfect sense now, but luck was unproven, and there is this notion that, look, Peyton Manning had won him a Super Bowl, and he was one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And there's this notion that you never move on from those guys. You let them decide when it's time to go. In some ways, it's kind of like the Tom Landry and the Cowboys situation. Not directly relatable because there's an injury concern. But when Jerry Jones came in and moved Tom Landry out, I mean, that was sacrilege. But he had a plan, and it worked out fabulously. Very similar situation. There were a lot of people going, why in the world would you move on from Peyton Manning? Yeah, we think this guy's going to be good, but he's unproven. You don't run out one of the best quarterbacks in the game. He'll come back, and he'll be fine. Obviously, it was the right thing, and like Caveman said, great that it worked out for Peyton Manning, that he fell into a good situation where he could win as well. And I think he set the season record for touchdowns at the time too. So, but a lot of people forget now how bold a move that actually was for the Colts at the time. And I thought it was just fabulous that they were able to actually pull the trigger, because a lot of GMs wouldn't have done that for fear of blowback.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and man, could you imagine, though, if Andrew would have stayed a little bit longer, because the offensive line when he first got to the league was not good, and then...
Ironically, they had one of the best offensive lines in the game after he left.
Yeah, exactly. And the run game then 2 years later just takes off.
That team was really close. And
they were in a window.
You wonder what could have been.
Yeah.
I
mean, you go back to that time because the Titans were kind of struggling at that point in time, but the Texans were playing good football. So the AFC South, was Colts, Texans, and they were making playoff runs every year, but just couldn't.
Went to the championship game that one year, and it was what could have been, Indianapolis.
What could have been. Hopefully it works out with Anthony Richardson, but from my Titans fan point of view, I don't want it to. I still, man, that is such a polarizing figure right now, Anthony Richardson, because all of his measurables and all of the things that could be, and the ceiling is great, and you can point out some of his things from his game film and his year at Florida where it's like, wow, that could be very impressive. But at the same flip side, which you could do this with every quarterback with their college days, you can take some other things and be like, what were you thinking there, Anthony?
Well, yeah, I've said it's a good situation for him, and that his home games are going to be in a controlled environment, which is good. I'm blanking on who's the head coach.
It is now Steichen.
Yeah, he came from the Eagles. A lot of people are saying he's his type of quarterback. Look what he did developing Jalen Hurts. I mean, they're different animals, but he's probably in the best situation he can be in the NFL. other than the fact that I think he's starting day one.
Yeah. To me, I would like to see a guy like Anthony Richardson sitting behind somebody who is like, who plays the game like him, where it's, I don't want to say he's a run first type guy, but he uses his legs to, like a Ben Roethlisberger almost. I don't want to say that that's the perfect comp there, but they were kind of similar type players.
Look, him trying to throw the ball in Green Bay would be a disaster to me right now. So the controlled environment's good. The basic system should be set up for him really well. You've got a quarterback or a coach who's developed similar type quarterbacks. I think all of that plays into Anthony Richardson's favor, and clearly he's the guy they wanted, so that's a good thing. You don't have the Vince Young Tennessee situation where Bud Adams wanted him and Jeff Fisher did not.
Yeah.
And, so hopefully it really works out for him, other than the fact that I'm a Titans fan and I always want the Colts to lose.
Yes, sir. What's so funny, though, is one of my best friends growing up was a Indianapolis Colts fan. I was a Titans fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we had that kind of rivalry, but also we were really good friends. And Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison. So I was, at that time, I was 7 or 8, so I don't think I understood rivalries the way that I do now. So I kind of like partially I don't want to say secondarily, but I would root for the Colts every now and again.
Get out.
When I was at that age, and then 2 years later down the road, it's like, no, man, what in the world was wrong with me at that point? And so
I had the double hatred for Peyton Manning coming from Tennessee as well.
Yeah,
it was. I respect Peyton Manning, always have. Could not stand him.
Absolutely.
The entirety of his career.
It would have been a double whammy for you had the Titans. I mean, what if you would have went to Tennessee, which I think at that point in time, that was their last, because Peyton was drafted, 98?
Yeah, he would have come out. Well, yeah, his last year would have been 97.
So he would have been drafted in 98.
So he would have been drafted in April of 98.
And the Oilers were in Houston until 99, right?
They were in Memphis.
99 was the year that they played in the Super Bowl, which would have been
the first
year in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
So they would have been in Memphis in 98 because they had 1 year in Memphis. So
how was that? Were y'all both living in Tennessee at the point in time?
I had tickets to the Tennessee Oilers when they played at Vanderbilt. And what they did was anybody who had the PSLs and were going to have season tickets got just thrown into a lotto for Vanderbilt seats anywhere just in Vanderbilt Stadium.
Wow.
My dad got 50-yard line.
Wow.
Second row bleachers, visiting side. Best seats I have ever had and I will ever have again in my entire life for an NFL season. Because after that, we were like third deck on the 5-yard line.
Philadelphia?
Yeah.
I was not there until 2002. I had good years where we made deep playoff runs, but I didn't have the Super Bowl year there. So I was not a Titans fan at all until I moved to Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was fun times. But, they moved from Houston. They had a year in Memphis, then the year at Vandy before – I guess it was Adelphia first, then LP Field, and I don't know. It's been about 10 names.
Like 4 or something.
Adelphia went out and under, one of those things where they got caught at the same time as Enron doing all the cheating. Yeah. So then wasn't it just like Tennessee Stadium for a minute? Then it was LP Field.
It's been a lot
now
of things.
It's Nissan.
Yeah. It's been a lot of things. Just like the I guess it's the Bridgestone now or something. It used to be the Gaylord Entertainment System. We called it the GEC. I mean, it's been a lot of things. But
so it was Adelphia from 99 to 2002, the Coliseum from 2002 to 2006, and the LP Field from 2006 to 2015, now, of course, known as Nissan Stadium. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got RJ Starcevic coming up next. We're going to go around the track with RJ, and then tomorrow, y'all, at 4:20, we're going to have Raekwon Jones on the line with us, former Mosley alumni and also played football at IU. We'll be right back, y'all. So keep it locked into ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Milwaukee Bucks fired Mike Budenholzer, and this is a couple of years after winning the championship. And this has happened. Frank Vogel with the Lakers, Nick Nurse with Toronto, Budenholzer now. You win the chip, and then you get fired a couple of years later? Yeah, this is a heartless business.
It's the Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings from 9 till 11. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon, this is Beth on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. Mostly sunny the rest of the day with temps near 80 and a wind between 8 to 12 miles per hour. Slight fog and some clouds tonight and a temperature of 69. About the same tomorrow, around 82 with slight fog in the morning and then some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida, ESPN Northwest Florida.
By now, you've heard us talking about Tiger TV Pro. Hi, David Hayes from the Afternoon Underdogs, here to remind you about this incredible streaming service with over 6,000 premium channels. And the cost, you ask? $15 a month. Yes, only $15 a month. Every sports channel is available, including the ACC and SEC network, the NFL, NBA, MLB, HBO, Showtime, and thousands more. For more info, go to our website at espnpc.com. Scroll down and click the Tiger logo.
Ben and Deb Collins, owners of Bay Guns and Gear, have been in business since 2010, offering new firearms and accessories with a huge selection available for your hunting needs and personal defense. Turn to Bay Guns and Gear. They have the weapon for you. Discount pricing. And if you can't find what you're looking for, they'll special order it for you. Bay Guns and Gear, across from Grease Pro at 3115 Highway 77. Visit their website, baygunsandgear.com.
The 2023 season of Atlanta Braves baseball is on, and this squad is fired up to make a run at a sixth straight division crown.
High fly, deep to left, forget about it for Austin Riley! And blast to left!
Tomorrow night, the interleague battles continue from Truist Park in Atlanta as the Braves take on the Boston Red Sox for a quick 2-game set.
Coverage starts tomorrow at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. It's ESPN Northwest Florida.
We don't sell the steak.
You can stir this all up.
We sell the sizzle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Very spicy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad, James Fife on the ones and twos, and we're joined by the host and creator of the NASCAR Report on Instagram, RJ Starcevic. RJ, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, my man. How about you guys? How's everybody doing?
Doing fantastic, especially after watching that race yesterday. Ross Chastain got me all hyped up, man. just don't Chastain me like Ross did with Noah Gragson. We'll talk about that in just a few short moments. But RJ, give us a recap of the race that actually happened on the track yesterday at Kansas.
Yeah, so what happened on the track, man, it started out crazy. I mean, Kansas is such a fun racetrack where you can drive top to bottom wherever you want, make passes. And so the race started out, the first 7 laps were super aggressive and ended up with Kyle Larson getting turned by Tyler Reddick battling for the lead, I think on like lap 6 or 7 of the race. So that was, well, it got off to a crazy start, calmed down a little bit from there, but there was still some great racing throughout the pack, some longer runs. But it all winded out down to the end where Kyle Larson seemed like he had it in the bag, and Denny Hamlin was closing the gap. Came up behind him off the corner. He was trying to get him loose, trying to get him arrow loose going into some of the corners, and just seemed like he couldn't make that pass and was going to really have to do something to be able to make the pass, and he did. It looked like Larson was really struggling with a loose race car, and so he was already probably loose coming off that second to last corner, and Hamlin kind of just got into his left rear there and got Larson squiggly into the wall, and then there you have it. Denny Hamlin's the winner. So, I mean, it was a crazy race. I mean, I knew Kansas would put on a great show. I didn't think it would put on as great of a show as it did yesterday, especially with the fireworks on pit lane that has everybody talking this week. Really, really fun race. Denny Hamlin gets his first win of the season. in a little bit of controversial fashion, but nonetheless, Toyota's a victory lane.
In your opinion, was that a dirty move by Hamlin? I'm asking that because as soon as he got out of the vehicle, he was getting a boatload of boos from the crowd.
Yeah, the crowd was not having it. I think Hamlin's quote after the race, or something he said in one of his interviews, was, if the roles had been reversed, he'd be pissed. And so the way the wreck happened was just really interesting. Like, I hadn't really seen anything kind of like it before, at least as far as two guys fighting for the win of a race. It's where Hamlin seemed like he was, not trying to dive bomb any corners, trying to race them as clean as possible. I'm sure Larson was planning on doing the same thing, and then they just come out of two. Larson's car gets a little bit bobbly, but nonetheless, Hamlin got into him a little bit on the backstretch, and, I think that last lap, it's just hard to lift, and Hamlin got into him. So, it's not the cleanest pass for the win by any means. Obviously, Larson ended up in the fence, but it was just really interesting how it happened. Like you'd like to say it was more air than contact, but there definitely was contact. And obviously, Hamlin felt as, I don't think he regrets his move too much because he did what he needed to do to win the race in his eyes. So I would say it definitely wasn't the cleanest pass that I've ever seen for the win, but really interesting how that incident happened.
Well, you got to take this with a grain of salt, but I'm a Denny Hamlin fan, and I would rather see a race end like that than it end in a caution type finish where you cross the finish line and the flag's yellow, and all of a sudden, boom, you're declared the winner. So it is what it is, but I'd rather see guys racing for it to finish and or for the finish to make sense to me. A lot of lead changes yesterday as well. 37 lead changes by 12 drivers, which is a record for a 400-mile racetrack, 400-mile race on a 1.5-mile intermediate speedway. So, do you like a race with a lot of lead changes, RJ?
Yeah, I think yesterday, a lot of them came on restarts, some of them potentially green flag runs where there's pit stops and things like that. But we did see a lot of lead changes yesterday. During the race, we saw some strategy before the stages that would put a different group of people out front, whether they chose to gamble on some pit strategy by staying out, getting stage points. We saw a lot of changes for the lead, especially even in the first 10 laps of the race. There were multiple changes for the lead, and every restart seemed to have its own kind of dynamic as to what was going on. So there was a lot of fun action on the racetrack, and I think a race like yesterday where you can look at those stats and be like, all right, yeah, there were a lot of lead changes that were impactful to the race. There was a lot of battles for the lead, a lot of changing positions at the beginning of stages, even longer in the runs, as certain cars would come to life and certain cars would fall off. I think looking at stats like the one you just mentioned and being able to watch the race yesterday and put the two together and be like, yeah, that was a pretty dang good race.
Absolutely. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with a contributor for TobyChristie.com, RJ Starcevic. So Kyle Larson finishing in second, even after the bump there, or the bump from Denny Hamlin. But as he was given his post-race interview, got about a sentence and a half, maybe 2 sentences in, and then the fireworks sparked. And I think that was one of my favorite parts about this Chastain-Gregson situation is Kyle Larson's reaction to it. But talk a little bit about the big news yesterday and the conflict between Gregson and Ross Chastain.
Yeah, so it all started, I believe, around the middle part of the race, maybe towards the end. I'd seen it on TV, and I love to track rivalries during a race. I just love beef. Like, it's just something that if I see something happen, I'm like, oh, those cameras better watch what's happening there, especially if you know the two drivers involved. And so it looked as Ross Chastain, he didn't hit him. But it was one of those things where, air very sensitive at these kind of tracks, and maybe Gregson just saw him running him up the racetrack, wanted to move up, and then all of a sudden he's into the wall. And so obviously Chastain squeezed him on the exit of the corner. Gregson gets into the wall, and you could see he kind of came down the track to kind of repay the favor. And then I think going into one, he sent it a little harder to get Chastain out of the groove. But then, with the damage on the 42, he spun out, and his day was practically over after that. So goes up to him on pit road, and we got a lot of different camera angles, but one that really captures the audio and he was asking, what's your problem? What's your problem? He was grabbing Ross and, starts to push him and everything like that. And then I think the funniest part is you can hear Ross. He's like, stop. And then after the third stop, he just right hooks him. And all of a sudden, they get to blows, which it probably could have been more blows. But, I mean, security was right there.
They were on it.
The head of security. He is a menacing man on pit road, I will say. Like, when I go to the racetracks, you know his presence when he's there. I mean, he makes it known that he is the head of security. And he was right there in the middle of that fight and basically blocked a punch from Gregson. I think which is funny was you really watch the video. Gregson obviously gets hit, and then he winds up his own punch and just gets absolutely blocked by security, his security's left arm. And so I think it was, it's awesome to have one of those after the race, some fireworks to talk about during the week. But it's funny because it's like Ross Chastain's the guy where everybody's like, someone's got to go up to him and talk to him and let him have it, and maybe throw some punches at Ross. And somebody went up to Ross, somebody put his hands on Ross, and Ross punched him in the face. So it's like, man, everyone's like, when is he going to learn his lesson? Somebody even went up to him and then got punched in the face for it. So, I mean, I think it's really funny. And it just keeps Ross Chastain in the mainstream, wave of NASCAR news here throughout the weeks. Every week it's something new. And now it's that he actually got in a fight, and I guess you would consider it a win. I mean, he landed the strike. So, they had very fun fireworks after the race.
All I was going to say was it reminds me of old school Tony Stewart, except you wouldn't have heard stop 3 times. Yeah. It just would have been a punch.
Yeah, you wouldn't have heard any stops. Tony would have just, first hand on the chest, boom, you're done.
RJ, this is James. So with hockey, each of those guys would get 5 minutes for fighting. What does NASCAR do with this?
NASCAR ain't doing nothing, I don't think. We honestly, we've seen weird penalties before in NASCAR, but I think they're kind of, I think is, at least for me, I would 100 times more rather the drivers just duke it out on pit road in a haymaker match instead of, using up the race cars on the racetrack and tearing equipment up. So, I would like to think that they're not going to do anything about it. They're going to leave it. A guy had a confrontation, tempers flared, people were heated, somebody got punched in the face, and we've seen it happen, I think, over the past few years. We've seen different fights go on, and there haven't really been any penalties. So I looked at that as just a normal fight. I mean, they got split up by security super easily. I mean, they really didn't even get to reach the full potential of what that brawl could have been between Noah Gregson and Mr. The watermelon farmer Ross Chastain. So it definitely could have been a brawl, 10 times more worse than it was. And there were no crew members involved, just the guys. Got split up by security in a matter of seconds. So I wouldn't expect any penalties or any sitting on pit road in the five minute penalty box before the next race or something.
Oh, that'd be a big time penalty in NASCAR. 5 minutes before you could go anywhere, and they've already done about 4 or 5, maybe 6 laps in that time. What I would like to see, maybe NASCAR should, implement somewhere not very close to pit road, but for after the race, if anyone would like to swap some hands or anything, they've got a little cornered off spot. A little sandbox or something, and you go over to pit road. You go over to pit road and you grab the number of the person that you know how they have those things hanging out. So when they get to pit road, they put the number out there, and that's to let the driver know where he's pulling up at, and they just go grab that and take it over to the sandbox and say, "I want you. Let's go."
I like that idea, yeah. Just kind of have something where, you have some drivers with some tempers flaring instead of maybe doing it with all the crew members around, security, you got the fight box, like, let's go. You want to settle this? We're going to settle it right here. You get a time limit, and there you go. Let out your frustration.
Round 1.
We can get Mills Lane.
Yeah, there you go. 5 Chevrolets, 4 Toyotas, and 1 Ford in the top 10. Has there been any consistency, in your opinion, with how the manufacturers perform at different types of racetracks?
I definitely think there has. I think going into these 1.5 miles, I feel like every time I kind of look at it, I think the Chevrolets are the guys to beat. I think Hendrick has been the team to beat, and the big conversation going into the weekend was Joe Gibbs Racing has kind of found attraction on those shorter racetracks, but can they keep up with HMS on the 1.5 miles? And, on paper at the end of the day, they did. I think Martin Truex Jr. had probably his best showing on a mile and a half in a while, I think. Not even this year, dating back to last year. That 19 team was really fast at Kansas. But Denny Hamlin was really fast as well, ended up ultimately getting the win. They had really good long-run speed. Ty Gibbs was up front during the race. Christopher Bell, it didn't end the way either of those wanted to. They ended up in the garage, but both of them were really fast during the race. And all the Toyotas, as well as Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick in the 45. So I think it's a great sign for Toyota. I still think Hendrick is still going to be, when you got William Byron, when you got Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Bowman when he comes back, as well as the speed of Kyle Busch. I still think those are kind of the groups to beat when we go back to Kansas in the fall. But, huge, strong showing from Toyota going to a track like Darlington, which they've been really strong at in recent years with Denny Hamlin's success there, Martin Truex Jr.'s success there. But I think Darlington this weekend has a potential to be another, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. type of race. And now I think the question is, will the Fords bounce back? Will Team Penske, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick for SHR, will they bounce back? It's been a rough few weeks for Ford, but I think Darlington is definitely a track they can have potential to be good at. Joey Logano's been a past winner there. Ryan Blaney's shown strength. Kevin Harvick obviously raced at Darlington so many times. So I've definitely seen the consistency with the manufacturers, but I know certain ones are knowing that it's time to pick up the pace.
Yes, sir. And give us a recap of the Heart of America 200 and the Craftsman Truck Series.
Yeah, the Craftsman Truck Series at Kansas is always an interesting show. It's always usually you get some green flag runs, you get some random restart pileups that somehow collect like 7 trucks. But it was a pretty solid race, and then you ended up Grant Enfinger for GMS Racing ends up getting the victory. He hasn't been in victory lane in a while, and so getting back to victory lane with GMS Racing, a team he's been in his second year now, and a team that's been in the news as far as their association with Legacy Motor Club, them switching to Toyota. The belief is GMS will switch to Toyota as well. So Grant Enfinger getting that win, beating out guys that were running in the race like Ross Chastain, like Kyle Busch. I think is always a big factor. And then as well, I think Haley Deegan, Tony Breidinger, both finishing top 15, and I think it was the first time 2 women have finished in the top 15 in the Truck Series, or I think any sanctioned NASCAR series. I can't remember the exact stats on that one, but it was a pretty good race for some underdogs for sure in the Truck Series that night.
Absolutely. Again, this is ESPN Northwest Florida, and we've got RJ Starcevic on the line with us. He is the host and the creator of the NASCAR Report on Instagram. RJ, coming up next, we've got the Lady in Black at Darlington, the Goodyear 400. Any facts to know about the track, and then we can get into your 4 drivers for the Xfinity and Cup Series.
Yeah, so Darlington is it's one of my favorite tracks. Any simulator or video game I've driven on, Darlington is just so fun. It's so unique. Both corners are totally different. The track is obviously super old. And so it just makes for some great racing, worn out tires, cars sliding around. And so the Xfinity Series has put on an incredible show every single year. I think that's why they're on the Big Fox this weekend on Saturday. They get to race on some nice primetime television, and they got a lot of stacked drivers in that field. And I can kind of just rifle off my 4 here that I'd watch that could have potential to win. You got Kyle Larson I'd throw into my 4. He's driving for Colleague Racing this weekend. He's in that kind of all-star car, number 10. I'm going to look at Sheldon Creed, a guy who almost won last year, who almost made the video game move, the move before Ross Chastain's wall ride at Martinsville. He tried to ride the wall in spectacular fashion at Darlington to get the win, but unfortunately couldn't make it all the way around. But I would watch for him to try and get that win this week. If I were to go to a 3rd driver, let's go with Sammy Smith in the 18. I think he'll be someone to watch week in, week out. He has a very strong race car. And then as my 4th guy, I'll go with maybe Justin Allgaier. I think he's got a breakthrough this year. He's won at Darlington before. And I think he's definitely due for that first win this season. And then when you move over to the Cup Series, it'll be their second time racing with the next gen car, the third time racing with the next gen car on this racetrack. I think it's still, either way, whatever car you put on Darlington's still going to put on a pretty solid race. So I would look at the guys I was kind of mentioning before. Denny Hamlin has a lot of success at Darlington. I think he is bound to possibly go back-to-back, carry this momentum. Denny Hamlin's a guy that is really able to carry momentum well. So if he's were to take the momentum from Kansas, carry it to Darlington, get the win, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll have to probably, for the third week in a row, throw Kyle Larson into my 4 just because he's been so strong at Darlington over the years, and I really think that in another week where he's probably racing, with the known fact that he should have won the previous week, I think he'll probably be able to get the job done at Darlington. I'll go with Kyle Busch. Potential to get another win on the season, his third win of the year for Richard Childress Racing, could definitely come at Darlington. And then I'd go with the guy that's in the news. I'll go with MTJ. I'll go with Martin Truex Jr. I think they've shown a lot of speed recently, so Martin Truex Jr. I'd throw in my 4. And then a big shout out for the older NASCAR fans. Ryan Newman's coming back this weekend.
Let's go.
He's driving for Rick Ware Racing in that 51 car. And so he'll be in that 51. He's going to drive select races this season. So it's cool that his first race back in about a year and a half is going to be at the throwback race. So I don't know if they're doing any special scheme, any special scheme yet or anything, but either way, the Rocket Man's back in the Cup Series, which I think is pretty awesome.
That is great stuff. And last week, RJ, you were awesome in the Cup Series. I haven't calculated the Craftsman Truck Series, but you had Kyle Larson, Will Byron, Kevin Harvick, and Logano. Larson finishing at second, Will Byron in third, Logano in sixth, and Kevin Harvick in 11th. So another great call from RJ Starcevic. Hey, bud, take care. Have a great week, and we'll catch up with you next Monday after Darlington.
You as well. Can't wait to talk to you next Monday. Have a good one.
RJ Starcevic, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow him on Twitter. You can follow him on Instagram. He has the NASCAR Report on Instagram. He's also a contributor for TobyChristie.com. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We have 3 great local shows right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. The Coach James Hale Show, live Monday through Friday from 7 to 9, and then the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley from 11 to 1 Mondays through Fridays, and the Afternoon Underdogs here with you at 4 every day, Monday through Friday. We're going to take a quick time out. When we return, it's going to be time to hopefully, finally get an answer for my trivia question in Traffic Jam and Trivia.
Northwest Florida. Here's what's happening.
Hi, this is David from the Afternoon Underdogs. Join me, Drew, Amanda, Kyle, Caveman Rick, AG, and a cast of sports fanatics every Wednesday at Dave & Buster's.
While we are broadcasting the entire show live on location, enjoy half-price games, half-price cocktails, plus win Dave & Buster's game cards, and just for stopping by, free ESPN Northwest Florida swag.
See you Wednesday at Dave & Buster's.
Good afternoon. This is Beth on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. Mostly sunny the rest of the day with temps near 80 and a wind between 8 to 12 miles per hour. Slight fog and some clouds tonight and a temperature of 69. About the same tomorrow, around 82 with slight fog in the morning and then some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida, ESPN Northwest Florida.
This Mother's Day, think Western wear for that special mom. And when you think Western wear, you know where to shop. That Boot Store. That Boot Store. You'll find a huge selection of Western outfits for the young to not so young mama. No need to shop anywhere else. That Boot Store. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 to 5. Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5:30. That Boot Store. Next to Bill Bird Kia on 15th Street, Panama City.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Call in with your questions, hot takes, and rants at 850-215-6290.
Now, I'm sure that most of you have used a dial telephone before.
The Sports Talk Monster.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle Fishing Report. The Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle Report with Tim Braddock is live every Friday at 4:20. You can call in with your fishing stories and questions at 850-215-6290. And also news that broke yesterday, since this is my Major League Baseball segment most days, Vida Blue, the Oakland A's, three-time World Series winner, passing away at the age of 73.
It was, I want to say he was MVP in 71 or definitely Cy Young, but I think he was one of the few pitchers who actually won the MVP. Very unheralded and under-respected pitcher for today's generation. Yeah, he was a great player, and
he was a guy that I did not know about until playing, cards. Collecting cards helped that as well. But also MLB The Show does a great job of highlighting past players, and Vida Blue is one of those guys that's like, yeah, man, let me get him on my squad.
Well, and he was a big part of the run-up that the A's had in the early 70s, where I think they won from 72 to 74 or something like that. But no, he was wonderful pitcher. Never got his due with today's generation that he did maybe with his contemporaries in the 70s. But no, he was a great player, and just another one of those. I'm starting to reach that age where Vida was just a little before my time, but not much. So it's starting to feel old.
Starting
David.
to hit home.
Yeah.
Starting to hit home.
Starting to feel old.
Traffic jam and trivia here. Now we've had this for going on 3-4 days now, and we haven't got a winner. We've gotten a bunch of calls, but we haven't gotten a winner, which is why I keep it. I've kept it in, and I do have some other great trivia questions lined up, doing a lot of research over the weekend. Which position in Major League Baseball sports the highest percentage of high sock wearers?
That actually makes sense.
Which position in Major League Baseball sports the highest percentage of high sock wearers? And I'm going to do you guys a favor. I'm going to take every position that the other callers have listed, and we'll take those off the board. So pitcher off the board. It's not a pitcher, y'all. It's not the shortstop. It's not the center fielder, and it's not the catcher. All four of those positions are not the answer that I'm looking for. So we've chiseled it down tremendously here. Well, which position in Major League Baseball sports the highest percentage of high sock wearers?
I've made it clear that this is something that it bothers me when they wear them all the way down to their ankles. It drives me nuts. So this actually makes sense to me, the position, and good for them, because that's the way it should be worn. Get off my lawn.
Old man yells at cloud.
850-215-6290 for your chance to win $25 gift card to the Break Room and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. Speaking of the Break Room, they provide the Braves update, and today's special is spaghetti and meatballs, and it's only $12. You also get a drink and a side. Tomorrow's special's meatloaf. So today you got spaghetti and meatballs. Tomorrow is meatloaf, $12, drink and a side. Go to the Break Room. If you don't know where it's at, it's in the old Vic Sports Bar location. You can also just type in on Google the Break Room, and it'll lead you right there. The Braves took 2 of 3 games from the Orioles. Kevin Pillar was the hero from Saturday's game with a go-ahead home run in the bottom of the 8th inning. And then in yesterday's game, they get to the 12th inning, and the Orioles decide to walk Ozuna, intentionally walk Marcell Ozuna in order to set up the double play, so it made sense. But Bunny Michael Harris, took exception to that, and when he stepped up in the box, you could see that there was a bit of an edge there. Hits a double. Ozzy Albies scores in the bottom of the 12th for the Braves to take 2 very close games from that very young squad of the Baltimore Orioles.
A good team.
The more that I watch full games of Adley Rutschman, the more that I'm just like, dude, because you just don't see that from young catchers all the time these days, and he's got it all. He controls the game. Go ahead.
I was going to say, he reminds me of Joe Mauer.
Yeah.
but better.
And
I think he's going to be
that
better.
high praise or what, though? Because Joe
really-
Mauer is one of those catchers who gets lost in the sauce.
Ironically, Joe Mauer was the number 1 rated football prospect coming out of high school as well. But no, he has a command for the game that is beyond his years. Mauer had that. I just think Rushman's upside's even higher.
That is high praise.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, just where the Orioles are headed as well. There's a lot of bright things for the Orioles, which is so surprising. The best part about it is that they're not doing this in a weak division.
No.
They are competing in the American League East, where all teams are above 500. The Yankees are in last place in that division at 18-17. But hey, every single team has it positive in the run differential there. We've got Bob on the line. Bob, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Let's play a little trivia here. Which position in Major League Baseball sports the highest percentage of high sock wearers?
I say first baseman.
First base is now off the board. Hey, Bob, thanks so much for the call. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Panama City.
Panama City. Who's your favorite baseball team?
San Francisco Giants.
San Francisco Giants. Man, how you feeling about their season to this point?
I didn't expect too much this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, ever since Buster, and I know one man doesn't make the team, but since the retirement of Buster Posey, that's a very tough position to fill.
Yeah, it sure is.
Hey, Bob, thanks so much for the call.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. And, speaking of that, the Cardinals, who are at 10-24 or 10-25, last place in the National League Central. And yes, they brought in Wilson Contreras from the Cubs in that series. Wilson Contreras is about to make his Wrigley Field debut as not a Chicago Cub, which could be very interesting. But I wonder how much the loss of Yadier Molina is playing into this, and not just because one man does not make any sport outside of golf, but even then we talk about that, man, the caddy plays a huge role. In NASCAR, the pit crew plays a huge role. But Yadier Molina, you hear some of these stories about him being kind of the dawn of the clubhouse there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A lot of times the catcher is the leader on the ball club anyway, but if you look at it, it's not only that you've lost maybe your locker room leader and all, but they can hold a team together when other things are going wrong and the slide isn't as severe. What happens is if you've got certain things going, maybe talent gaps, this, that, or the other, and you don't have that glue, then things can really go off the rails, whereas maybe they're slightly under 500 if you've got a Yachty there. I mean, at the end of the day, talent still matters, and you got to be playing well on this side or the other. But those guys can be the glue that holds a team together through the tough times. And if you don't have those kind of anchors like Yachty, Buster, guys who've been around so long, were so respected, then it can get away from a club in a hurry.
Absolutely. And the Braves have done such a great job. Travis d'Arnaud coming back from the IL tonight. He's been reinstated. Chadwick Tromp has been optioned down, but the Braves have two great ones in Travis d'Arnaud and in Sean Murphy. All right, let's get over to Jacob, who wants to play a little trivia. Jacob, which position in Major League Baseball sports the highest percentage of high sock wearers?
I'm going to take a wild guess and go center field.
Oh, center field is already off the board, man, so I'm going to give you another chance here. We've got pitcher, shortstop, center field, first base, and catcher. Those are off the board. Give me one more position here, Jake.
All right, let's go with the hot corner, third.
Third base. All right, so now we'll take third base off the board. Hey, Jake, where are you calling from?
Callaway, man.
Jake, that would have been my second choice.
Yeah.
So, third base makes sense, but unfortunately not first.
Shortstop for me was the overwhelming answer, but it's
shortstops are prima donnas.
That's why they would do
exactly.
it.
It is kind of opposite of what it used to be.
Old classic is the high sock. The prima donnas.
No, old classic is the stirrups with the high socks.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Hey, Jacob, thanks so much for the call, my friend.
No problem. At least I whittled it down for someone else.
There you go, man. So pitcher, shortstop, center field, catcher, first base, third base are all off the board. There's not very many. What do we got? Left field, right field, and second base left here. 850-215-6290 for $25 to the break room and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. And if you don't have an ESPN t-shirt, we will throw that in with the prize package as well. The Braves are off today. They're going to be starting a series with the Boston Red Sox tomorrow, and that'll be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. You're going to have Nick Pivetta going for the Sox tomorrow. He's 2-2 with an ERA of 4.99, and going up against Charlie Morton, who's 3-3 with an ERA of 3.38.
Okay. I was doing something.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I thought you were looking at me like I got something to chime in here. So
no, I believe you.
Okay. All righty then. No, that's but that game will be, the coverage will start right here at 6 o'clock, and we'll get to the first pitch at 6:20. Now we're going to go over to Tommy, who wants to play some trivia. Hey, Tommy, which position in Major League Baseball sports the highest percentage of high socks? Is it the left field, right field, or second base?
Base.
Say that one more time.
Base.
Yes, sir.
Attaboy, Tommy, the real workhorses of the infield.
Yes, sir, Tommy. You just won yourself $25 to the break room, a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. Where are you calling from?
Panama City Beach, headed from Inlet Beach.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for listening. Do me a favor and hang on the line, and James is going to grab a little bit of information from you and tell you where you can come pick your prize pack up.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, that is Tommy, ladies and gentlemen. He is the winner.
Old school workhorses of the infield are your second baseman. Your prima donnas play short.
Okay, so let me tell you this, just to
you tell where I played. Third base and second base.
So by percentage, and I could pull up the full percentages, but it's second base with 48%, and second place is shortstop with 47%.
Nah, they're still prima donnas.
Hey, no doubt about it. Yankee John says I played third base and second.
That's what I did.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I in fact, I just bought a pair probably like 2 years ago, but of ones that will not go beyond my knees. So whenever I feel like wearing some high socks, I put those on.
Second has the harder task in turning the double plays. That's why I always said it was the more workmanlike position, but because you're working against yourself.
Shortstop looks better when they're doing it.
Because they're prima donnas coming across the bag with all the momentum. Second baseman's got to have skill.
And utilizing that neighborhood rule where your foot's like a whole glove away from the bag, but it looks like you got it, man.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So we've got a lot of stuff happening here in hour number 2. I want to dive into some Mount Rushmore stuff. Not a lot happened. We do need to talk about Nikola Jokic and the son, or the Suns owner. Get into that situation. Then play a little Mount Rushmore. I just got a couple of positions here: quarterback and quarterback, like baseball, football, just a couple of different things. And also, we're going to try to find a way to mix AI into all of this. Since it's taking over the world right now, might as well find out who the AI's got as their Mount Rushmore in sports.
It's all fun and games till Arnold Schwarzenegger turns up on your doorstep.
Absolutely. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back with hour number 2.
Suffer from political talk radio fatigue?
We know that under the 49% rate, the U.S.
Tune into the most fun and exciting new radio show on the Gulf Coast. It's The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. Middays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Tim Root with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Monday. For tonight, some clouds and a low of 69 with a calm wind out of the southwest around 3 miles per hour. Tomorrow morning, some clouds with temps around 80. In the afternoon and evening, partly sunny with a gentle breeze and a temperature near 82. Moving into Wednesday, about the same with a high of 84 and some sun. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new Kia and see why everyone is talking about Kia. The new SUV family has movement that inspires, and we invite you to test drive the new 2023 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorrento, and the Telluride. You can command the road in a sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a brand new 2023 Kia Rio, Forte, K5, or Stinger, and discover the all-new vehicle at Bill Bird Kia for you and your family. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City today, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. Peace of mind you can trust at your local community dealer. Bill Bird Kia, 15th Street, Panama City.
WGSX Lynn Hayden, WTOT, W271DN Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, Paula Hesse.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The 2023 season of Atlanta Braves baseball is on, and this squad is fired up to make a run at a 6th straight division crown.
High fly, deep to left, forget about it for Austin Riley. A blast to left.
Tomorrow night, the interleague battles continue from Truist Park in Atlanta as the Braves take on the Boston Red Sox for a quick 2-game set.
Coverage starts tomorrow at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. It's ESPN Northwest Florida.
Time to let the big dogs eat.
How about that answer by Georgia? To the end zone, touchdown, Georgia!
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, welcome back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. It's hour number 2 of the show. We're going all the way until 6 tonight or 5:57. Then we'll get you out to Paul Feinbaum. We've got Todd Mueller with PCB Hobby in the next segment. We've got our local update going on at 5:40. For now, we've got a couple of other issues I want to get into, or topics, if you will, and then play a little Mount Rushmore with the guys. 7 years ago today, Bryce Harper tied a Major League Baseball record with 6 walks in one game. He became the first known player to reach base 7 times without recording an at-bat. Bryce looked at 27 pitches without swinging once. I don't know if you will find, I don't know if that's going to happen again.
I'll be Miles here for a second.
Okay.
I can go to the major leagues and do that. I can go up there, stand in the box, and not take one cut.
Not take one cut, but can you get out to bat?
They'll hit me with one of them. Don't worry.
There you go, one of them, man. Hopefully, if you're Barry Bonds, they'll just throw it straight at you. So that's pretty interesting, though. And a couple of other things. I mean, we talked about the Pirates leading the NL Central. They're on a 7-game losing streak right now. The Rays and the Orioles are going to be playing a series. Shane McClanahan's on the mound tonight for the Rays. He looks to go 7-0. He's 6-0 right now with the most wins in Major League Baseball. Rays and Orioles have the best records in the American League, and they're going to be facing off for the first time this year. And also a little cool story here from a Facebook group that I'm in called the Ballpark Chasers, with people who have the goal to get to every single ballpark or Major League Baseball ballpark, so people share their adventures and how they do it and all of that good stuff. Well, there was a lady named Amber Duran. She wrote about her experience. She was at a Mariners game. She was waiting. They had already purchased the personalized jerseys, but waiting on those to get done. And they go up there to pick them up, and the guy who's doing the alterations is in a frenzy. He's not only doing it for the fans, but he's also doing the actual players' alterations, because I guess their alterations guy didn't show up or whatever, and he's having to hem Julio Rodriguez pants by 3 inches. He's never hemmed pants before. And the lady, Amber, she was like, well, I do alterations, so if you go ahead and take care of our personalized jerseys, I'll hem the pants up for you, and that way it's like a win-win, and we get our jerseys. So she ended up hemming the pants for Julio Rodriguez as a fan at the game. And this was just May 6th that she did this, and she shared that on Facebook. And I thought that was super cool, and asked her if I could share this on the air, and she was like, absolutely. So, I mean, how often is that you go to buy something and then you end up hemming the pants of a pro ball player? A really cool story there. In the Suns-Nuggets game last night, you had a little bit of a situation. I don't know if you would go as far as to say altercation. Would you call this an altercation?
I don't know if I'd call it an altercation. It's just one of those things where it's like guys holding on the ball, Nuggets want to go fast. Jokic wants to go fast. Give me the ball. They can get the ball right away, and it's always going to be an issue when the fans are that close to the action.
Yeah,
I mean that's why the NBA keeps having these situations,
right?
Because nowhere in no other sport do the fans have access to the players without a wall.
Yeah,
they're right there. And things like this are going to happen. It was more a bigger misunderstanding than an altercation than anything. Although he took a LeBron flop, the owner did, and that was nice.
That's my thing. Is the owner should probably get fined $5,000 for flopping from the league.
There you go. So yeah, and Jokic had 53 points in that 129-124 loss to the Phoenix Suns. But the owner did come out on Twitter and tweeted that he does not want to see Nikola Jokic be suspended for Game 5 after that incident in Game 4. So I think that's the right thing to do, to come, you know what I mean, as the owner.
No, it's 100% the right thing to do. And look, if you're, you want to move on, and I get that, but you want to beat the best. You don't want it to come down to who got suspended a game or anything like that. So that's good on him.
Could you imagine, though, if this actually did lead to a suspension for a player? Like, could you imagine, like, an owner like Dan Schneider then just, like, sitting, like, right there at the edge of the court so he could constantly...
This has Mark Cuban written all over it, but they got to make the playoffs first, yeah.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, and if he does get suspended, it's crazy. If he gets suspended for this, NBA teams need to start moving their courtside seats back a little bit further, and what's that going to do? The consumers aren't going to be happy with that, because who sits courtside? Not only your celebrities, but you love putting those people on TV, but the people with the money, exactly. So then you're alienating them, and that's not the people that they want to lose at all. So interesting. If he gets suspended, which I think by now, right? If he were to be suspended, the news would have already came out by 4 o'clock or so, because normally that's when we get the best information. It's right before the show starts, after I've already done all the show prep, then we get to going on. It's like, oh, breaking news, rewrite that show sheet, son. All right, Professor Plum texted in. He's got a question for Brian. I like this question, Professor Plum. He says, as a former infielder, Brian, did you ever get an opponent out by using the hidden ball trick?
No, but I've seen it done.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've seen it done in games I was in. The best one I ever saw, mid-'80s college baseball, Wichita State used to do the fake pickoff move. And the pitcher wouldn't have the ball. The second baseman would be holding onto the ball. Somehow, I don't remember how he got it. The pitcher fakes a pickoff move to first. Everybody in the dugout's yelling, ball, ball, ball. The first baseman's running over, so the runner goes to take off towards second and literally runs into the tag that the second baseman has. So I just remember Wichita State was involved, but no, I've never done it myself, but I've seen it done in games that I've been in.
So we had a situation when I was playing for Meadowlawn Little League back in the day down there in St. Pete, and we had the pitcher. He was a left-handed pitcher, and he had the ball, and we had a meeting at the mound, gives it to the first baseman.
That must have been how they did it, and he never towed the rubber, because that would be an issue.
But that's where, so I think that the umpire disallowed it, or basically had him go back to first base, because we ended up getting him, but because the pitcher wasn't even on the rubber, because he was on the mound close to the rubber, at least this is how the umpires called it in this particular instance, it didn't count. But we were so happy. I mean, we're how old do you got to be when you're leading off? I think we were 12 or 13.
The better one I've seen done, and I know I've been in games where this was done, is when guys at first or second or something, and they fake the throw back to the pitcher, and the guy steps off the bag and you tag him real quick. That happens.
Those are always some good ones. All right, a little Mount Rushmore here by positions. Also, Professor Plum says, your new weather forecaster sounds pretty robotic or AI-ish. Well, Professor Plum, that's because it is, man. So you are sharp, and that's why I'm doing this kind of Mount Rushmore. Originally, I was just going to do a regular Mount Rushmore, just kind of get everyone's opinions on some certain positions. And I was like, well, let's start it off with AI. But give me your
No. You guys are going to get us all killed by the Terminator. I'm just saying. That was a documentary.
That was a documentary. I love it, man. All right, so the AI's answers for quarterback, for the best quarterbacks, his Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks was Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers. Who would you replace there?
I'm on the spot here.
There's
I've been
no
thinking
Aaron
about this for
Rodgers.
about 2 minutes. I would not have Rodgers on this list.
Go ahead, Todd.
All right, so check this out. I would absolutely replace Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That is not a Mount Rushmore pick. Honestly, I really think that Patrick Mahomes should go up there. And I get it. He's not out of the league, or he's not at the end of his career, but I really think that he has brought a new look to a quarterback, personally. And I think that he's going to stay in the league for a long time and do a really good job.
And if you are able to use the future in this argument, by the time it's all said and done, he might rewrite the record books completely.
Correct.
So 100%.
But the only other one I'd throw up there if I had to was probably Drew Brees. Because of all the records.
He is so underrated. So many records, so short as well. I mean,
so underrated. Yeah. But that would have been my change in that list.
Yeah, those are both really good shouts. I'd be more Brees than Mahomes, but only because of the youth of Mahomes. Mm-hmm. I went old school with some names on here, Namath, Ball, Favre, Staubach. But the guy that I would probably put at 4 is Terry Bradshaw.
Oh.
Just for that many Super Bowls. And I think a lot of times because the Steelers were so good everywhere, people forget how good Terry Bradshaw was.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'd probably have, right now, I'd have Terry Bradshaw at 4, but can be supplanted.
So one of the guys that I would like to throw in there from old school, way before my time, but my papa would always talk about Johnny Unitas. So I don't know if you can put him up there in the top 4, but he's one of those guys that I've always considered to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But his one Super Bowl was a loss to the AFL at the time. New York Jets.
Yeah, well, they did win one a couple of years later, but he should have been on my list of the others. But I would have him in there, kind of with Staubach and Sammy Ball.
Yeah,
probably a little above Joe Namath because Namath was just hampered by injuries. But yeah, Johnny Unitas is definitely one of the best there ever played.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But it's funny because I relate everything to sports cards.
Yeah,
you know how I get and he gets 0 love.
He really does.
Really?
Yeah.
Really does.
I've had some beautiful second, third year cards, and they're like $20.
Football cards just weren't a big deal.
They just weren't a big deal.
What? So it was just baseball cards?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now baseball card back there, a second or third year Mickey Mantle,
yeah,
thousands in nice condition.
That is just so wild.
It's just weird.
It is.
Football gets zero respect.
James, what about for you? Do you agree with the AI here, or would you change it up?
I don't fully agree with the AI. Brady, okay, everybody understands. Manning, okay, everybody understands. Montana had a great run in the 80s. I can see why he's there. Aaron Rodgers, I just don't see it. He is a Hall of Famer, absolutely. I just don't see him being one of 5 that I want to immortalize forever. I like Unitas as one. Bradshaw would be a great fit. But whatever the 5th guy is, it's going to be the other 4, not really going to talk. 5th guy, yeah, that's where people are going to argue.
What about for shortstop? So for the artificial intelligence there, they've got Honus Wagner, Cal Ripken Jr., Derek Jeter, and Ozzie Smith. I don't think that there's much to change. Now, I don't know much about Honus outside of the history there, which one of the best to ever play the game.
Right. Really was one of the best to ever play the game. Underrated, honestly.
Yeah, believe it or not, I could not say with that because I don't know a lot about the history. Cards is the only thing, again, I know a lot about, and I know that obviously a Honus Wagner card's the rarest of the rare, but as far as how he played, I actually don't know.
Cobb supplanted Honus Wagner as kind of the best player in the game at the time when he came in, and their careers overlapped. I looked at this list and immediately, as much as I loved Ozzie, I immediately thought he needs to come off of this list because defensively he's at the top.
Yeah, but
offensively not. But as I looked and was thinking through this, surprisingly, for such an important position, there aren't a whole lot of really huge names. The 2 that I kind of looked at were Robin Yount, who he only spent part of his career at shortstop. He played center field, too. So I kind of throw him out. The only guy I might put ahead of Ozzie, and it's another very underrated player, is Alan Trammell, because he was a really solid. Barry Larkin would be right around there, too.
For me, childhood-wise,
Alan
Barry Larkin.
Trammell did not get his due that he should have, because other than 84, the Tigers generally weren't a very good team. But he was a phenomenal player at short. So I'm fine with Wagner, Ripken, and Jeter. I think they're no-brainers. Ozzie, I'd probably replace, but not easily.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. So to me, there's 3 and work in progress for the 4th.
Because when you talk about, definitely Derek Jeter, Nomar Garciaparra kind of falls right in line there. But where does he rank as far as all-time shortstop greats? Because he had a good glove, but more known for the bat.
Look, first of all, Nomar was on the way to being that because it was the 3 guys.
Yeah.
It was Nomar, Jeter, and a lot of people forget A-Rod was a shortstop.
Yeah, Alex Rod. Yeah.
So if A-Rod had stayed at short, never come to the Yankees, let's say gone to the Red Sox, he probably would have been on this list. Pee Wee Reese, another guy to consider, although his numbers weren't as good. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting to me that there weren't more top-level shortstops that were big names. So,
James, did you have anything on the shortstop?
I was going to go with Pee Wee Reese needs to be on the list, mostly because he was playing back when shortstops could hit under 200 and nobody cared because you were supposed to be out there playing defense. Another one that I wanted to throw on the list, because I'm a Cubs fan, so why not? Mr. Cub himself, Ernie Banks.
Yeah. He definitely belongs to be.
Yeah,
up
no,
there.
I overlooked Ernie Banks because a lot of people forget, myself included, that he played short. I was thinking 3rd for him for some reason, which was Ron Santos, so that's sacrilegious. Ernie should be 4 on this list.
Yeah, when it goes to Honus Wagner, he led the National League in batting average 7 times, and he led the league in stolen bases 8 times. Played for the Pirates from 1897 to 1917. All right, I think AI's got it right here when it comes to running backs. They've got Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, and Emmitt Smith. Is there anyone else that you can... of course, there's got to be some that you can add to it.
Yeah.
But is there anyone that you replace here? Because I don't, as great as Derrick Henry is, and as much as I love him, especially playing for my favorite NFL team, my favorite college football team, he's nowhere near these guys yet.
I could add
or if he ever will
I could add to it. Herschel Walker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
For what he should have been,
and Bo, I mean, if you
Bo,
right. Look,
what he should.
To me,
been.
there's only one guy and I wouldn't replace any of the 4. Although I'm not as big an Emmett fan as a lot of people are. Gale Sayers would be a name I would throw in here.
Too short a career, though.
That's right. That's right. And honestly, Jim Brown should have had a longer career. To me, Barry's the best I ever saw, but I didn't see Jim Brown.
No, nor did I. But Barry Sanders, I have seen so much footage of so many great plays that he made that it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So he's definitely on the list for me. Look, I like the list. I think the list is rock solid. But I'm
that
just saying,
one's pretty good.
If you were going to add an addition, there's a couple guys that you would add to that.
I like it. What about for you, James? You look like you got something there.
I like the list, and I just Googled real quick, great running backs, and there's a couple more we could throw out there, but this... that one's pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard to break into that top 4.
Yeah, 100%. Also, Yankee John saying he would put Miguel Tejada over Nomar Garciaparra.
Couple of really great years. Yeah, over Nomar, I agree.
Yeah.
MVP in 02, I believe. So.
Yeah, that's definitely a name that kind of gets overlooked a lot in Miguel Tejada. We got catchers here. This is one of my favorites to talk about, especially when you hear older, or not older, when you hear current catchers talk about their Mount Rushmore of old catchers. So Johnny Bench, Yogi Berra, Mike Piazza, and Ivan Rodriguez.
That's it right there. I was going to say, if Ivan wasn't on there, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, gotta have
he's
Pudge on there.
Okay, so Pudge is on there.
Yeah, this is like running back. I'm not sure I could replace any of the 4, though it's interesting. Guys coming out now, Molina, Posey, Maurer, I don't know if they break this list, but they're in conversation. The only guys I had down from the old school, if you will, Mickey Cochran was a Hall of Fame catcher who was fantastic player, never got his due, and Roy Campanella, but again, was hampered by the accident. So, it's hard to argue against those 4.
I mean, who... Of these four.
Although I'd put Yogi above Johnny Bench, and I might be the only one who does it. The only other guy to consider is Carlton Fisk. You could consider for this.
Yogi Berra.
I agree. Yogi should be number one.
Yeah.
And Yachty would be, you got to give him honorable mention there, but who does Yachty replace out of these four?
He doesn't replace Yvonne. I mean,
maybe Mike Piazza, but Mike Piazza.
One of the greatest, too.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Exactly. That's a tough thing, James.
Piazza really brought offense to that position.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah, Carlton Fisk was one I was going to mention as well as great catcher from back in the day. Yeah, Yvonne Rodriguez, Yogi Berra. It's a good list.
It's a great list there. James Lawson, back to the running back, says Eric Dickerson. But we're out of time for this segment. Eric Dickerson, but does he replace
didn't have
one
a long
of these
enough
four,
good
though?
career to be in this
Exactly. I love the honorable mention, but look, so far, AI got it pretty daggum close, man, and it's just a language model. All right, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. When we return, we're going to keep the sports talk going. We're going to have Todd Mueller with PCB Hobby, and we're going to be talking all things cards, TCG, coins, everything PCB Hobby, comics as well. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
You like boiled hot dogs?
Why not just throw it on the frying pan or in a toaster oven or something even, you know?
You know the way boiled hot dogs look? All the grease or whatever it was
used to do weird
floating
stuff like
to
that.
the top.
Yeah.
My mom fed me boiled hot dogs and top ramen. I tell my mom, you should be thrown in jail for that. Come on, man.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings starting at 5 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Tim Root with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Monday. For tonight, some clouds and a low of 69 with a calm wind out of the southwest around 3 miles per hour. Tomorrow morning, some clouds with temps around 80. In the afternoon and evening, partly sunny with a gentle breeze and a temperature near 82. Moving into Wednesday, about the same with a high of 84 and some sun. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. The SUV family has movement that inspires, and we invite you to test drive the new 2023 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. You can command the road in a sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a new 2023 Rio, Forte, K5, or Stinger, and discover the all-new Kia at Bill Bird Kia. 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. Peace of mind you can trust at your local community dealer, Bill Bird Kia.
Chuck was terrible at fishing. He spent many frustrating hours attempting to get results he saw from internet videos, aggravating trial and error fishing trips, and misguided advice from well-intended friends. Chuck is happy now with his newfound success after he visited Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, where we keep fishing fun, simple, and successful. See us soon at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida on the frequencies of 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Marietta, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Now in the studio with us, we've got the owner of PCB Hobby. We've got Todd Mueller. Todd, what's been going on, man?
Man, all kinds of stuff. It has been busy, and today is Monday, just the start of a week.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Last week was pretty good. We had several things going on. One of which we sent a couple guys out to Dallas, to the Collecticon out there, Dallas, Texas, and they had a fantastic time. They just got back today, brought all kinds of great stuff back. So if anybody's looking for some new TCGs, Magic cards, Pokemon cards, stuff like that, we just got a nice run of stuff in. So that was pretty good. They had a good time. It said it was really busy, really packed. And so that's awesome. Did a lot of buying, did some selling, but we were mostly there to buy anyways. So that was a lot of fun. Had our Friday Night Magic again. That was pretty cool. Had several people show up because of Bike Week.
Yeah.
If y'all didn't know, It was Bike Week. Thunder on the beach, and it sounded like thunder all the time.
Dude, we did our show on Wednesday from Dave and Buster's, and we're outside.
Yeah.
We were outside.
Yeah.
But, I went back and listened to it, and you couldn't really tell as much as how we could tell.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where it was just like,
thank God for noise canceling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, had a lot of bike people come in. That was really cool. Had several people bring collections that had contacted us and said they were coming down for it. So that was cool. So we picked up some new sports. If you guys are looking for any kind of new singles or whatnot, come hit us up. We got a lot of stuff going on like that. A lot of new products out. Especially in baseball, we got Bowman Baseball. If you didn't hear already, we have Bowman Baseball, and we're pretty excited about that. Come take a look at the shop with all the new products. We got Bowman's Best University, I believe, in as well. And then we have several restocks coming in or that have made it in. Brian, do you remember some of that?
Yeah, Optic Basketball should be out this week, which is one of the big four products for basketball. And so obviously with the playoffs going, a lot of people really hyped for basketball. So that'll be good. Optic Football is coming in the next couple of weeks, which Optic last year, I think, was the top of the four. I think it kind of supplanted Prism. Optic Football will be a big deal. And there's a few more products down the line coming for baseball too. But yeah, everything is Bowman in baseball right now. It's the lone product out there with Drew Jones, who's Andrew Jones' son, so he's the big chase. And
yesterday on the broadcast for the Braves and the Orioles, Andrew Jones was a part of the broadcast, and they took an inning, a half inning or so, and we're talking about what's it like being a former should be Hall of Famer. They didn't go that direction, but what are the conversations like that you have with your son, who is now highly touted and following in your footsteps?
It's amazing how many guys right now are legacy guys.
Right.
Bobby Witt's a legacy guy.
It's amazing.
Jack Leiter.
Toronto is the legacy team.
Well, yeah, Vladdy Jr.
Guerrero.
Guerrero
Jr.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's,
Vlad Guerrero was a really good ball player.
Yes.
I saw that guy hit unhittable balls.
He's had a good start to the season. Right?
Yeah,
he really has. So, but the legacy guys, it's just, they have the resources, and you would expect they have some level of grounding in the how to deal with everything. So.
Are their cards more valuable in a sense? Do they start out more valuable?
100%.
They 100% start out
100% start out more valued. Then they have to prove themselves.
Yeah,
that's right.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is exactly that.
Yep.
His cards came out on fire because of his dad, but he has proven that he is a good ball player, and so his cards stay up there. I mean, he's not the greatest ball player, but he's proven enough to where the hype is kind of there. So that would be a prime example that I would consider.
And you saw a lot of that 30-something years ago with Griffey. I mean, Griffey was an anomaly, and everybody knew he was going to be great, but it was that legacy. And having the junior helps because it reminds you of the name. And, that's working with Bobby Witt right now. And look, Andrew Jones, Drew Jones, that's pretty much
close enough for me.
So,
it's that card's hot. I mean, his cards are just smoking.
Big deal right now.
So Bowman Baseball's out, so we're pretty excited about that. Come in and check us out if you need any product. We have it, and I feel like we're priced pretty well too.
Well, being Topps Direct,
we're Topps Direct now,
Bowman
so we can
as cheap
offer
as anybody.
Yeah, we can offer Bowman just as cheap as anybody, so that's good. Anyway, several products, as Brian said, are coming out, so we're pretty excited about that. One of the big things I wanted to bring up on this segment this Monday was we have a new website coming out either the end of this week or beginning of next week. PCBHobby.com. PCBHobby.com. It is a website that's going to have all of our categories on it. Therefore, you will see Magic the Gathering stuff. You will see pre-sales for Pokemon product. You will see coin supplies, potentially coins themselves, single coins. You will see sports cards, pre-sales for some sports cards, and we're even toying with the idea of doing breaks on our website. So this is how it'll work. Let me give you a quick rundown. Basically, we will be on an online platform, whether it be somewhere like Whatnot, Facebook Live, or wherever, and we will say, hey, we're going to set up a break on our website. We're going to break 5 boxes of Bowman Baseball. We got 32 spots, which means there's 32 teams. We're going to go ahead and sell those teams off. not by team, but just by spots. So we'll have quantity 32. Go in, buy your spot for $50, $70, whatever it is, through our website, and your name's on the list. And when it gets full and all 32 teams sell, then we will actually live break it, probably on Facebook Live.
That is a neat way to do it.
It's a very neat way.
It gives you the time to get everything set up.
Payment options. You have a range of payment options through Shopify. Whereas if you do it just on an online platform, you have to wait for PayPals to come in, Venmos to come in. You got to double check people. It's kind of a nightmare almost in a way.
Yeah.
But this is going to be fantastic. So that's kind of one of the cool things we're going to do. Again, we'll have a lot of supplies for all the different categories, and we'll probably even have some comic book stuff too. So we're pretty excited about it. It's a big rollout. Not everything is going to be on there.
Yeah.
However, what we ask the listener audience to do is when we get it live, which probably next Monday, I will be touting that it's live, go on there, fish around a little bit, have a good time on there, click around, and give us some feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback of what you'd like to see, feedback if you think something's broken, whatever, let us know. We have a phone number. You guys all know it. We've said it a million times, 850-320-8388. Just call us up and say, hey, was fishing on your website and noticed this, or would love to see this, or you're going to be adding this. We love feedback and are very interested in hearing from the consumer base.
Yeah, and that's one of the best parts about PCB Hobby is you guys, what you're wanting to do for the community, and how do you do better by the community is when the community gives you feedback on what they need.
I'll tell you, and I tell you, we get 10 people a week say, you guys have a website? I can just buy directly, because they're visitors.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you have a website? And we're like, nah, not yet, we're working on it. But now we can actually give that out. So we're really going to be pushing that on all of our online platforms and everything that we do. So we're pretty excited about that. So I wanted to drop that little news to everybody out there, and yeah, we're pretty excited. So hit us up.
Someone commented on our Facebook feed from PCB Hobby, says that they've got a JJ Blade auto, Oakland Athletic, who just got called up, what was it, last Wednesday or Thursday? So, hey, man, that's a great card.
Topps Big League just came out not too long ago, and the person opened a box of it. I think there's 65 in the shop. 65 in the shop. You get 18 packs. Fun product. They have mascot cards, stuff like that. No guarantee of an auto. So they opened up the box, got an auto, and it was a JJ Blade.
Wow. I was going to say, we have Blade autos in the shop. Yep. We also have Lucas Dunn and Jaden Rudd.
Nice.
Just picked up a few of those. And Nick Nelson. I don't have an auto in Nick Nelson,
but we have some local guys.
A lot of good local guys.
Yeah, we got some local guys. So if anybody's looking for local players, come in. Brian.
Yeah, just ask.
Brian knows a lot of the local players and can let us know.
Yeah, I'm going to have RJ Yeager on again with us here soon. I've got Raekwon Jones. He's a football player, but he'll be on with us. But I've been reaching out to JJ Blade and haven't had the success yet to get him on the line, but I definitely want to get these local ball players on the line with us. We've got a good question here from Caveman Rick. He wants to know what's the best way to organize your cards? By team, by player, by value, or is that just up to the collector?
It's up to the collector, but my recommendation is this: it depends on what you're doing. If you have a PC, a personal collection, then you would organize it by player. So you'd put all your Ken Griffey Juniors in one area, you'd put all your Drew Jones in one area, you'd put all your Vladimir Guerreros in one area, or one box and one row box, and then if you're not holding a PC, a personal collection, and most of it's for sale, the best thing to do is to split it up by graded and non-graded.
Gotcha.
Right, and then value. And this is the biggest question that they get when they walk through the door, Brian, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I say to them, show me the good stuff first.
Yeah.
So you might as well organize it by the best stuff on top and the worst stuff on bottom, because I'm going to buy your collection based on the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, or you can do like me and just move stacks around your room, which is all I do. I just organize and reorganize and organize again. So it really does come. I mean, some people PC a team.
Yeah.
They don't just a player, so that they're all in on Titans cards or Alabama cards, whatever like that. It's just whatever you like. But Todd's exactly right. If you're doing this for any level of moving and shaking and flipping and whatever, definitely by value. That's the way to go.
Yeah, when I was growing up, it was by teams. Everything was by teams.
Right? Well, everything for me was by player. I literally, because you put everything in 9-pocket pages. It wasn't big back then to put it in top loaders and do all that type of stuff. That only came out later, when people really realized that everything was condition sensitive. And since it was condition sensitive, then you realized, I need to put stuff in top loaders and mag holders and stuff like that. So that changed everything a lot.
And see, I was a set builder, so everything for me was numerical.
So was I.
Putting them in numerical order.
Everything in numerical order, and then I pulled all the good ones when I didn't want to do a set, and I'd put them in binders in 9-pocket pages.
That's right.
So all the Ken Griffey Juniors were in there, and I always did oldest to newest.
Oldest
to newest. Right, in the 9-pocket pages. That's the way I did it.
I love it, man. It's always fun to see or hear, about how people do their collections.
I'm telling you right now, everything in my life I've ever learned about organizational principles, I learned from sports cards.
Correct. Yeah, me too.
It's just organizing them, reorganizing them.
For
right,
me.
yeah.
I love it. And you guys have all of that equipment there at PCB Hobby to keep your collection in pristine condition.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we sell all the supplies and have all the supplies for everything. And I think we're getting top loaders back in. I think we were out for about a couple days, but they're in.
They're already in. Yep.
So we have top loaders back in, regular, normal 35-point top loaders. So if you were needing some supplies and missed us the other day, we've got them back in.
Yep.
Oh, how about comic books? So last Saturday was the
comic
book
day.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot to mention that. So free comic book day was last Saturday. Went really well.
Yeah.
Had a lot of customers come in. The word is starting to get out. We probably gave away 15 to 20 comic book packs that we made up in brown boxes and stuff like that.
Nice.
To customers, and of course people came in and bought stuff and all that. Of course we carry supplies for comic books as well. But the word's gotten out. Somebody brought a comic book collection in today and sold it to Val. So that was pretty cool.
The only downside of free comic book day is it happened to happen during bike week, so it was a little bit.
That was
tough
the only
getting
downside,
shop,
right?
Yeah, it was great
for getting people in, but it was a good showing for what we are right now and where we're at.
Yeah, we had talked about it a little bit on Friday because Caveman Rick had brought in 3 wax packs of some 90s baseball cards, so we just kind of ripped those open. There was a Pat Mahomes in there,
Nice.
Chipper Jones, Pat Mahomes Senior, the dad. But so we had some fun, and then we were like, go out to PCB Hobby first and foremost for your sports cards and coins and TCG, but it's also comic book week, so we'll also bring that up and hype it up when we get closer to that, because I just love the fact of what you guys are doing out there with the encompassing of all hobbies there
100%.
in a singular shop.
Yeah, no doubt, and it's been great. The lines of different things has been great, and we see a lot of customers in, and we're super excited about that. And again, a customer came in today, looked at his collection. We're going to hopefully buy it, and he's like, I need some football cards for my kid. Has completely opposite. That was coin collection. Now he's buying football cards for his kids. So, it really works. The cross-platform really works, and that's what we really try to do.
Well, the other fun thing about cards is if you're not all that into a sport, like you're a huge football fan, but you haven't watched baseball in years, getting into the baseball cards can draw you back into the game. A lot of the way people always said betting on a game can get you interested in the game. And in a way, it's done that for me. It's reconnected me to baseball I had somewhat lapsed on.
One of the best things, I think, is the fantasy footballs and the fantasy baseballs and stuff like that. It changes the way you watch baseball or
100%.
football. And on top of it, when you collect sports cards, it changes the way you watch the game.
Yeah.
And I love that. Somebody told me that early on, was my ex-business partner, and he told me, he said, get in this fantasy league. It'll change the way that you watch the game. And he was right.
Yeah.
It really does, because, you're rooting for somebody that you maybe normally wouldn't root for, because it's helping you in your fantasy football league. Same way with your sports cards. You're sitting on Patrick Mahomes rookies. Do you really gonna hate on him and don't want him to win?
Right.
No. You want him to win.
It's so funny to watch people who have a good running back beg for a wide receiver to go out at the 1.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious to me. It's like your team, but you're like, go down. I need the touchdown.
I mean, last night in baseball, I had Freddie Freeman, who's in my lineup, and I also had Joe Musgrove pitching, and they're going up against each other, and it's like, I don't know what I need more here right now. I need a win from my pitcher, but I also want a couple of hits from Freddie Freeman, so it puts you in that conundrum, but you're still rooting for either.
Correct.
Whatever the best thing to happen, or the best situation that could happen. Do you think that they'll ever make cards with, instead of the statistics, or in addition to the statistics, they have their fantasy statistics on the back of the card?
Yeah, you never know. They may actually make cards that are specifically driven for fantasy.
That would be wild.
They're coming up with a lot of different ideas and a lot of things. They're getting a lot of artists involved in the sketch cards and the things like that. There's several, like in the Topps Big League product, there's a guy that did some of the specialty insert cards, and he sketched all those out himself. The Mike Trout card is super cool.
Yeah, Ben Baller's done that for years.
It literally has a trout on it, like they drew a trout on it and stuff. It's really cool.
Well, and to that point, they've actually created some level of sports TCG in a way, in that Match Attacks has done it for years, but Prism Monopoly, which we talked about a little bit last week, has like player power numbers on the back, almost like Madden would have, or things like that. And you actually play a game based on their power numbers. I expect that trend to grow.
Pokemon, that's like Pokemon.
Exactly.
I think when one of the first times that you guys were on the air, I'm not sure if I did, but I feel like we've had this conversation before, saying that do you think that sports cards will ever get into that arena of how the TCGs are, where you're actually playing the cards as well? Because I feel like
they've tried before. They've done it before, and they've tried, but and they tried a long time ago. Actually in 1968, I want to say it was Topps Game.
Topps Game.
They tried it. So they've been trying it many times for years, and I'm sure that worked in some form or fashion. Here's the problem. You never got a near mint or mint card from there because they played them.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that you have the struggle between something that's played versus something that's rare and worth money.
Right.
And they had the same struggle in TCGs.
Yeah.
The Pokemon cards, you pull a Pack Fresh Charizard, EX something or another, right? And it's a $100 card. Are you really going to play that card?
Yeah.
Yet it's the most valuable card to play in the game to wipe somebody out. So,
do you care about winning the game or winning the money?
Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's really tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. So it's going to be a hard road for them to ever get a game type card out there that is not played, that, because of the values.
Yeah, it would have to be targeted more at kids at an entry level, not a big value play kind of game.
Yeah.
Exactly. So ultimately, that's where I stand with that. But it's very interesting, and like you said, the Prism basketball was a prime example of Monopoly.
It's going to be a good test run.
It's going to be a good test run
on how this works.
And they may be able to do it like that, where it's a game of like Monopoly, or like Yahtzee, or something where they integrate the type of game with the card.
Yeah,
I like that.
Well, and you're not slamming the card down.
You're
like
not slamming the card like dominoes.
Put it in the top loader and then slam it a little bit.
But thank God for top loaders.
Absolutely. Hey, Todd, thanks so much for stopping by.
No
Todd Mueller, owner of PCB Hobby. He's with us each and every Monday at 5:20, and he'll be back with us next Monday at 5:20. Y'all get out to PCB Hobby and look out for their new website, PCBHobby.com, coming soon. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with our local segment.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Hey troops, Coach Manley from the Coach James Hale Morning Show. Now you can take me with you everywhere you go with the new app from ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going everywhere together. Tyndall Credit Union drive-through window. Hitting the links at the Sunny Hills Golf Course. Whoops, sorry there, buddy. Didn't mean to hit you with that. Testing the margaritas at Los Angeles. That's my best job. And I can take you to the outhouse with me. Some fun, huh? Download the app at Apple Store and Google Play. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Tim Root with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Monday. For tonight, some clouds and a low of 69 with a calm wind out of the southwest around 3 miles per hour. Tomorrow morning, some clouds with temps around 80. In the afternoon and evening, partly sunny with a gentle breeze and a temperature near 82. Moving into Wednesday, about the same with a high of 84 and some sun. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
By now, you've heard us talking about Tiger TV Pro. Hi, David Hayes from the Afternoon Underdogs, here to remind you about this incredible streaming service with over 6,000 premium channels. And the cost, you ask? $15 a month. Yes, only $15 a month. Every sports channel is available, including the ACC and SEC network, the NFL, NBA, MLB, HBO, Showtime, and thousands more. For more info, go to our website at espnpc.com. Scroll down and click the Tiger logo.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
James, that is great stuff right there, man. Just let's marinate real quick. No, just kidding. You guys are right with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad. We've got Kyle Wright in the building with us, and James Fife is on the ones and the twos. And this is our local update brought to you by Barbaritos, where food, community, and people matter. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdogs sent you. There's a meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. That is 14 minutes away. It's going to be running until 7:30. It's at Chapman Park and is on the future of Chapman Park. So if you're a resident here of Bay County, which Panama, I believe Bay County gave the title or the deed over to this city, to the city of Panama City now. But still, if you care about the future of what's going to be happening at Chapman Park, you need to go to Chapman Park right now. The meeting is from 6 p.m. until 7:30. And on Friday, JUCO softball here in the state tournament, Northwest Florida defeats Hillsborough 6-5, and in JUCO baseball in the state regional, Polk beats Northwest Florida 5-3 there. And we've got a lot of local teams playing in the high school softball and baseball playoffs coming up soon, but none of the games go on until Tuesday, so we'll highlight some of those tomorrow. We went a little long in the previous segment, and we've got Kyle with us. We're going to go play some softball here shortly, but both of you, Backlash was the pay-per-view. Are they still considered pay-per-view since they're all on Peacock?
They call them premium live events now.
Yeah. All right, so PLVs or PLEs.
Vince can always add a word to anything. It's not a hospital; it's a medical facility.
Yep. There you go. So to break it down for me, what went on at Backlash, and what's got us all excited for what's going on in the WWE?
Well, I think it's fair to say that tonight, I think the Triple H era will officially begin, right? The draft is over with. We've got the roster split that officially begins tonight. Raw's in Jacksonville. Actually.
Is there any big differences in the rosters now?
There really weren't, to me. They didn't split anybody up. There are still moves to be made, though, because the new belt that they're introducing on Raw, there actually could be a SmackDown person win it. They would then have to move, but it was actually surprisingly tame to me. They flipped Rhea Ripley and Bianca, Rhea and Bianca.
Yeah.
So they'll have to figure out that belt situation, but really wasn't that much movement for the draft.
I also thought it was weird that they didn't split the tag titles, right? They didn't do the same thing that they did with the world title, which I think is a great idea. I'm excited for that. A beautiful title belt. I thought it was weird that they drafted Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to Raw as the unified champions. I thought that they maybe would have kept them in if they're going to have a one tag team championship for now, more of a free agent kind of role.
And let's face it, they're probably still going to bounce between shows because they've had this rule before and they never seem to follow it. But, I was thinking about the Backlash, and I don't know how you felt, but obviously a lot of steam into WrestleMania, somewhat fizzled a little at the end and the Raw afterwards, and they tried to build up some storylines, but safe to say, at least for me, I don't know about for you, I didn't have high expectations.
No.
But man, what a hot crowd can do for a show.
It's incredible, right? Because I was talking to my buddies about this today, and it was like maybe somewhere in North America, I guess Puerto Rico technically, but I mean, if you put that show in Atlanta, New York, I don't know if it's still because the matches were good. Like, it was quality wrestling in the ring, but man, like you said, that crowd was so hot. Especially for everything. I actually had to watch the first half this morning because I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Saturday night, and I was able to catch the second half. So I watched the first couple matches today, which included Rollins and Omos. I don't think Omos gets enough love for being such a big guy.
He had a good match.
And just hearing the Puerto Rican crowd serenade Rollins for 5 minutes straight before the bell even rang.
It's a lot like how you brought up in Montreal with
Sami Zayn.
The way that crowd was for that match, the Puerto Rico crowd was the whole night.
Yep.
And, the first match out was Belair and Io Sky.
Yeah, great match too.
Phenomenal match. Yeah. And Io really stepped up her game, but you're right. That match in Atlanta, in Buffalo, in whatever, it's okay, it'll take us a while to warm up the crowd. The responses, and they were big behind Io Sky, which was a surprise. I sat up a little bit on my couch and I got into that match more than I normally would have, and it was just a banger of a match. I mean, it was really, really good, and you felt like they might do a change here. Bianca Belair ended up winning, but I mean, it was a heck of a match, and it got the night off to a great start. They go into Seth Omos, which is Omos's best match by far since he's been in. Rhea Zelina was fine. I mean, that one you kind of knew what was going to happen, but she has Puerto Rican roots, so that was huge. And
she got a huge ovation after, too. Crazy.
But man, nothing compared to the Bad Bunny Damian Priest match.
So when you think about Bad Bunny, right, this dude's a pop star.
Yeah.
And obviously grew up a big wrestling fan. He just headlined the Coachella concert, which is the big liberal concert out in California. And then he
comes on for 20 minutes.
I'm sorry, there it is.
Headlined both nights of it.
Both nights of Coachella. And then, just did the Met Gala last week where he performed at that as well. And now he's down in Puerto Rico. This dude's an entertainment star. He's not a wrestler by any means. And not only wrestles, you've seen guys like Logan Paul come in and do it, Pat McAfee, same thing, but this dude's taking full-blown kendo stick shots to the back, and it's I know his agent's in the back stop.
He's taken a Falcon Arrow, which is essentially a suplex power bomb through tables.
Yeah.
Now, they had it padded, but that's still a table.
It's still a table.
This dude is worth the WWE.
Yeah.
And he's taken this. I mean, but he's from Puerto Rico. The crowd blows the roof off and then sings his song. All 17,000 people are singing this thing.
It don't get better than
that. You can't help but get goosebumps at this. And then the match, he's holding his own. I mean, he takes it serious. It's going good. And then they have this little soap opera in the middle of the match where the Judgment Day comes down and Ray comes, and then Carlito, who hasn't been in the WWE he did a quick thing at the Rumble a couple years ago. This guy's from 10, 15 years ago, and he's from Puerto Rico. And I've never seen a pop like this since Stone Cold was in. And then Savio Vega, who's 30 years from competing. I mean, they played this up beautifully. The only problem I have with this whole event, that should have gone last.
Should have been last. I guess.
I know why you put Brock Cody last.
Right.
It didn't zap the energy, but nothing was going to live up to that hype.
Yeah. No, I mean, you closed the show with all the Puerto Ricans and all the Latinos in the Latino world order in the ring. Yeah. And it seems like a perfect way to go off the air other than a bloodied and pissed off Brock Lesnar. But which was also great for storyline because that's not the end of that. That's going to happen again soon in Saudi Arabia, I think. But I mean, just a phenomenal show from start to finish, man. I mean, I understand though. They should have main evented, but you don't put a non-wrestler in the main event, right?
Yeah,
there have been better wrestling matches than we're on. Although there was great wrestling on this show.
Yeah.
Nobody does big entertainment like the WWE.
No,
the production, the walkouts, the music, the craziness, the over the top. Nobody does it like the WWE.
Well, in about 30 years, the UFC will be right there with it because they already started last Saturday.
The UFC has taken elements, though.
Yeah.
You think about I heard somebody talking about this. Think about the original days with Gracie on his back.
Yeah.
That wouldn't sell today.
Mm-hmm.
even though it's effective, I mean, they had to make changes to make it more exciting, more palatable to the public, and they have. And I mean, look, walkouts aren't new. I mean, boxers been doing them forever, but nobody does them like the WWE.
There's no doubt about that. And in the UFC 288, which I don't think it wasn't near as exciting as what you guys are describing with Backlash here, but you did have your main event between Henry Cejudo and Aljamain Sterling. Sterling ends up winning their questionable decision by a lot of people, not just Twitter, but fighters as well. And then Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean, comes in the ring right after, and that's where it kind of got WWE-ish right there. So they'll be fighting later on at a later UFC pay-per-view. We'll see how all of that plays out. But then, to start the show off today, we didn't really get into what happened over the weekend and all of that good stuff. The Lakers, how about that series, all right? You had game one, and it's like, man, this is going to be a great series. Then the next two games, it's back-to-back 30-point blowouts, and the Lakers got the better of Golden State yesterday with a 120, or was it Saturday? It was one of those 2 days, 127 to 97, just an absolute blowout.
We were absolutely elated on the show Wednesday because we were like, this series is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
The last two games were just not.
Yeah.
You had the what game was it as well? Saturday? No. Yesterday, Heat and Knicks.
That was Saturday. We played tonight, so yeah, it would have been
that was Saturday.
Yeah.
That was kind of a blowout. So that wasn't the greatest of games. But yesterday with the Celtics and the Sixers, that was the best game all weekend. Suns and Nuggets was good, but the overtime game there was a lot of fun. And Jason Tatum I believe he only had 2 points in the first half. Kind of explodes there down the stretch, hits the go-ahead 3-pointer to put them on top, and then James Harden comes and answers right back. It's been fun when Harden and Embiid are playing at their best level. I mean, it's almost like we're getting a resurgence every other game. Not every game, but every other game we're getting a resurgence of old James Harden.
I haven't been a big Harden fan, but it's been nice to see him step up his game when needed with Philly, because it's a slightly different role for him. He doesn't have to be the alpha like he used to be, but when needed, he has stepped his game up big time.
I would just like to see him be more of an alpha.
Yes.
He doesn't have to be the alpha, but he's going to have to do this more often. And you don't have to have 40 points each time, but just doing what he did. He was the reason they got back in that game.
That's right.
Embiid's going to do him. Embiid's going to do Joel Embiid things. But James Harden was, his hustle and so he had made a couple big-time floater shots. He was the reason they got back in that game, and that's what it's going to take. The Celtics they're unmatched, at least in their starting five. You got Al Horford out here playing like he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Well, and you look at the Lakers, obviously this is not a team built for 82 games because these guys, LeBron's older and AD's fragile, but if they're healthy when it's time to go, these guys can still go better than just about anybody.
They're good for 16 wins.
That's right.
We'll dive back into hockey tomorrow. Lots of interesting results there, especially with the Panthers taking a 3-0 series lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Tomorrow, Coach James Hale Show live from 7 to 9 a.m. Following that, locally wise, will be the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey from 11 to 1, and we're right back here at 4 p.m. with the Afternoon Underdogs. Raekwon Jones at 4:20. Have a great day. Farm Bomb's up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Afternoon Underdogs.
I want to go back to, I can't remember who said it, but he was kind of high on the Pirates going into the season. That was me. Remember I was saying?
You like what they're doing down there?
Well, no, it was the mixture of youth with veterans.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Tim Root with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Monday. For tonight, some clouds and a low of 69 with a calm wind out of the south.